Welcome to our deep dive into Nina Lacour's Watch Over Me. Today, we're going to be dissecting excerpts from the novel itself, looking at all the powerful themes and events. And you're here because you're looking for knowledge that's both quick and thorough, right? Those aha moments that make a deep dive worthwhile. And I think you'll find we've got that covered today.
What's immediately captivating about this book is the setting, you know?
Hmm.
It's not just a backdrop, it's practically like a character itself. And we're introduced to Mila, our protagonist, as she arrives at this foster home on this remote farm.
Run by Terry and Julia.
Right, Terry and Julia, and...
It's a unique setup, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, it is.
The farm is home to a whole group of foster children, as well as interns like Mila, who live in these tiny cabins and help teach the kids.
Right, and this detail, I think, sets the stage for the novel's exploration of family belonging and this idea of finding a home in unexpected places. You see, Mila is a teenager carrying the weight of a traumatic past, and it's clear from the beginning that she's desperate for a fresh start.
She wants to leave it all behind, put those memories in a box, and bury it deep. But as the story unfolds, we start to realize that the past isn't so easily escaped.
Yeah.
This farm, with its idyllic surface of sprawling fields and salty air, hides a secret. It's haunted.
And not just in a metaphorical sense, we're talking actual ghosts that both Mila and the children can see. And these aren't just spooky figures. They become symbolic representations of the lingering effects of trauma, the way that it can haunt you, even when you try to move on.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Each ghost embodies a specific trauma, so it adds another layer to the story.
Okay, that's where it starts to get really interesting.
Mm.
The ghosts aren't generic. They're tied to individual traumas. And then we meet Lee, a young boy who's also haunted by a ghost, and his fear and anxiety really struck a chord with me, mirroring Mila's own internal struggles.
The relationship between Mila and Lee is key here. They bond quickly, finding solace and understanding in their shared vulnerability. It's like they see a reflection of their own pain in each other, and Mila becomes fiercely protective of Lee. It's almost as if she's trying to shield him from the same kind of hurt she endured.
It's heartwarming to see that connection develop, especially because Mila initially seems so guarded. However, this protectiveness also foreshadows potential problems in their relationship, right? Their shared trauma becomes this powerful force, pulling them together, but also potentially isolating them from others.
Exactly. And this potential for isolation is further emphasized by their interactions with the other interns, Billy and Liz. Initially, Billy and Liz are welcoming and supportive, but there's this underlying tension, especially after a specific incident involving Lee. Remember that scene where Lee gets injured and Mila, despite her obvious connection to him, freezes up and is unable to help?
Yeah, that was a tough one. It's like Mila's past trauma resurfaces, preventing her from acting rationally in the moment. It really underscores the unpredictable nature of trauma and how it can manifest in unexpected ways.
Precisely. Lacour doesn't just tell us about trauma. She shows us its complexities through Mila's reactions, It's a reminder that healing isn't linear. It's a journey with setbacks and regressions, moments of vulnerability and moments of defensiveness.
It really makes you think about how challenging it is to offer support to someone navigating the complexities of trauma. Right? Their reactions might not always make sense, but understanding the root cause can help foster empathy.
Absolutely. Now, going back to the tension with Billy and Liz, it's like a crack appears in their seemingly perfect friendship. It raises the question, can they truly understand and support Mila given her past and her increasingly erratic behavior?
It's like a test of their friendship, pushing them to confront their own limitations in terms of empathy and understanding. And this tension highlights a key theme in the novel, the challenges of navigating trust and boundaries when everyone is carrying their own invisible burdens.
Right. And speaking of burdens, we can't ignore the flashback scene where Mila remembers this deeply disturbing incident with her mother's boyfriend, Blake. This scene is so raw, so emotionally charged that it practically jumps off the page.
It really reveals the deep-seated nature of Mila's trauma, painting this stark picture of her past and the lack of protection she experienced.
Now, this flashback isn't just there for shock value. It's crucial because it helps us understand Mila's behavior in the present. Her desire to protect Lee, her guarded nature, her difficulty forming close relationships. It all stems from this deep-rooted fear of abandonment and betrayal that was ingrained in her through Blake's actions and her mother's inaction.
It's like her past is a lens through which she views the world, coloring her perceptions and shaping her reactions. And this brings us to what I think is like a turning point in the novel, Mila's surreal encounter with a ghost that resembles her younger self. This scene is packed with symbolism and emotion, and it just sent chills down my spine.
This encounter is pivotal. It's almost dreamlike in its intensity, but it represents something profound. Mila finally facing her deepest fears and acknowledging the reality of her past. The ghost, a manifestation of her younger self, isn't just creepy, it's a powerful symbol of the innocence and vulnerability that were stolen from her.
It's heartbreaking to imagine that younger version of Mila, unaware of the trauma that's about to unfold. And the fact that this ghost looks just like her younger self suggests that Mila isn't just confronting the events of her past, but also the part of herself that was forever changed by those events.
Yes, and Lacour's description of the encounter with its unsettling, dreamlike quality really captures the disorienting nature of trauma. It's like Mila's being pulled back into those painful memories, forced to relive them in this visceral way.
So we've got this haunted farm, these ghosts representing specific traumas, and Mila's own internal struggles mirrored in her interactions with the other characters. It's like the novel is weaving together these different layers of meaning, creating this tapestry of trauma and resilience.
Right. And as we move into the next part of our deep dive, we'll see how these threads continue to intertwine as Mila's journey unfolds. What do you think is the most impactful element of this first part for you?
For me, it's the way Lacour uses the setting of the farm to mirror Mila's internal landscape. The isolation, the secrets, the ever-present sense of unease, it all contributes to this feeling of claustrophobia and impending danger.
That's a great observation. The setting is more than just a backdrop, it becomes this reflection of Mila's internal struggle. It's fascinating how the arrival of these two new characters really disrupts the fragile equilibrium on the farm. Terry and Julia bring in Ruby and Diamond, these 8-year-old twins, and they just add another layer of complexity to this already intricate family dynamic.
It's like throwing a stone into still water and
Yeah.
watching the ripples spread out, right? And Mila's reaction to the twins is particularly revealing, I think. She seems threatened by their arrival, almost as if she's worried they'll disrupt the bond she's formed with Lee.
That's a keen observation. I think Mila's reaction speaks volumes about her deep-seated insecurities and her fear of abandonment. Remember, she spent most of her life feeling like an outsider, constantly moving from one foster home to another, and she's finally found a place where she feels seen and understood, and the arrival of these newcomers triggers this primal fear of losing that connection.
It makes me think about how trauma can impact our ability to form healthy attachments. Right? Mila's past experiences have made her wary of trusting others, and the arrival of the twins represents this potential threat to the fragile sense of security she's built with Lee.
Precisely. It's a classic example of how past trauma can shape our present perceptions and reactions. Now, this isn't to say that Mila doesn't have the capacity for empathy and connection. In fact, we see glimpses of her warmer side in her interactions with Liz. Remember that scene where they're preparing dinner together and Liz notices Mila's distress?
Yeah, that scene really stood out to me. It's this quiet moment, but it speaks volumes about Liz's character and the power of simple acts of kindness. You can sense Liz's genuine concern for Mila, her desire to offer comfort and support.
And that's what makes the scene so poignant. We see Mila's resistance to letting anyone in her fear of being truly seen and understood. It's a reminder that offering support can be just as challenging as receiving it. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to meet someone where they are, even when their behavior is difficult to decipher.
It's a delicate dance, isn't it? Trying to offer support without overwhelming someone or triggering their defenses. And this dynamic is further explored in Mila's interactions with Billy. He also tries to reach out to her to offer his friendship and support.
And this brings us to another important aspect of the novel. I think its portrayal of platonic intimacy. The relationships between Mila, Billy, and Liz are not romantic, but they're deeply meaningful and supportive in their own right.
It's refreshing to see these complex, nuanced friendships portrayed so realistically. They offer a different kind of love and connection, one that's based on shared experiences, mutual respect, and a willingness to show up for each other, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. And these friendships serve as a counterpoint to the intense, almost codependent bond between Mila and Lee. They demonstrate that it's possible to find love and connection without becoming consumed by each other's pain.
It makes you wonder if Mila and Lee's shared trauma is ultimately bringing them closer together or pushing them further apart. Are they finding solace in each other's understanding, or are they reinforcing each other's isolation?
That's a question that Lacour invites us to ponder throughout the novel. There's no easy answer, and that ambiguity is part of what makes the story so compelling.
Hmm. I want to shift gears for a moment, talk about the setting. You mentioned earlier how the farm becomes this reflection of Mila's internal landscape, but I think the Mendocino coast itself plays a significant role in shaping the mood and atmosphere of the story.
You're absolutely right. The rugged cliffs, the crashing waves, the ever-present fog, it all creates this sense of both beauty and danger, mirroring the unpredictable nature of the characters' emotions and the uncertainty of their futures.
It's like the landscape is this character in itself, both alluring and unforgiving. And the way Lacour describes the fog It's almost like this physical manifestation of the secrets and the unspoken truths that hang heavy over the farm.
That's a great point. The fog becomes symbolic of the obscured past, the things that are hidden from view but still exert this powerful influence on the present. It creates this sense of mystery and foreboding, adding to the overall feeling of unease that permeates the story.
And even when the fog lifts, there's still that sense of isolation, that feeling of being on the edge of something vast and unknowable. It's as if the characters are caught between the land and the sea, between the past and the present, struggling to find their footing.
Exactly. Now let's circle back to Mila's journey and her evolving relationship with Billy and Liz. There's that scene where they invite her to go to the market with them, and for a brief moment, it seems like she's able to escape the confines of the farm and her own internal struggles. Remember how she actually seems to enjoy the experience?
Yeah, that scene struck me as like a turning point, however fleeting. It's like this breath of fresh air, this reminder that there's more to life than just surviving. She engages with the community, experiences the simple joys of human interaction, and even feels this sense of purpose and accomplishment when she helps sell some of the farm's produce.
That trip to the market is significant because it offers Mila this glimpse of what life could be like if she were able to break free from the grip of her past trauma. It's this reminder that healing is possible, that joy and connection are still within reach.
And the way Lacour describes the market, with its vibrant colors, bustling energy, and sense of community, creates this stark contrast to the often oppressive atmosphere of the farm. It's like this temporary escape, this chance for Mila to forget about her worries and just be present in the moment.
And then there's that beautiful moment on the drive back from the market when Liz rests her head on Mila's shoulder. It's such a small gesture, but it speaks volumes about the growing intimacy and trust between them.
It's like this silent acknowledgement of their shared humanity, this recognition that they're both navigating difficult emotions and finding comfort in each other's presence. It's this moment of hope, this glimmer of light amidst the darkness.
Unfortunately, that sense of hope is shattered when Lee gets injured while exploring the cliffs by himself. And Mila, despite her deep connection with him, freezes up and is unable to fully engage in his care. This incident becomes like a turning point in the novel, marking a shift in the dynamics between the characters and raising questions about the nature of their relationships.
It's like all of Mila's past trauma comes flooding back, overwhelming her and preventing her from acting rationally. It's this stark reminder that healing isn't linear, and that even when we think we've made progress, the past can still have this powerful hold on us.
Exactly. This incident highlights the unpredictable nature of trauma and the way it can resurface even when someone seems to be on the path to recovery. It's a reminder that supporting someone who is struggling with trauma can be incredibly challenging even for those with the best intentions.
And it's not just the incident itself, but the aftermath that's so revealing. Remember how Billy and Liz witnessed Mila's breakdown and struggle to understand her reaction? It's like this rift forms between them, this sense of misunderstanding and mistrust that threatens to unravel their newfound friendship.
I think that reaction is understandable. Trauma can be incredibly isolating, and even those closest to us may struggle to comprehend the full extent of its impact. It's a reminder that empathy and compassion, while crucial, have their limits. Sometimes the best we can do is offer a listening ear, a safe space, and a referral to a qualified professional.
As we move into this final part of Watch Over Me, the tension that's been building throughout the novel really reaches this fever pitch. Mila's internal struggle just intensifies, and her behavior becomes increasingly erratic, pushing her relationships to the brink.
This is where Lacour's depiction of trauma really shines. I think Mila's outbursts, her withdrawal, her moments of intense connection, followed by this abrupt disengagement. It's not just plot devices. They're realistic portrayals of how trauma can manifest in these unpredictable ways. These are her coping mechanisms. It's her way of grappling with these overwhelming emotions and memories that are resurfacing.
And her relationship with Billy and Liz really takes a hit. That confrontation in the field after Lee's accident is so charged with emotion. It's clear that they're trying their best to understand and support her, but they're also reaching their limits.
This scene, I think, is a powerful illustration of the complexities of empathy. Billy and Liz are both caring individuals, but they're not equipped to handle the intensity of Mila's emotional turmoil, and their attempts to comfort her, while well-intentioned, ultimately backfired. It's like they're speaking different languages. Mila is trapped in her own world of pain and fear, while Billy and Liz are trying to reach her from this place of logic and reason.
And this disconnect just exacerbates Mila's feelings of isolation and despair. She retreats to her cabin, seeking solace in the only way she knows how, by confronting the ghosts of her past and raver. That encounter with the ghost of her younger self is one of the most chilling and surreal scenes, I think, in the entire novel.
It's pivotal. It's like all the threads of the story are converging, forcing Mila to confront the core of her trauma and the choices she made that led to the fire. The ghost, a manifestation of Mila's younger self, serves as this stark reminder of the innocence and vulnerability that were stolen from her.
And the merging of past and present, the blurring of those boundaries, just amplifies the disorienting nature of trauma. It's like she's being haunted by the ghost of her own past, forced to relive those painful memories in this visceral way.
And the ghost's words, "This will hurt," foreshadow the arduous journey of healing that lies ahead for Mila. Mila can't simply outrun her past. She has to confront it head on, no matter how painful that process might be.
And this scene is also where we finally learn the truth about Mila's grandparents. It's heartbreaking to realize they weren't simply neglectful. They were gone. It explains why they never came for her, why she felt so utterly abandoned.
Absolutely. That revelation adds another layer of complexity to Mila's relationship with her mother, who chose to stay with Blake even after Mila's grandparents died. It sheds light on the difficult choices people make in the face of trauma and how those choices can have lasting consequences.
It's like all the pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, revealing this picture that's both tragic and illuminating.
And armed with this new knowledge, Mila undergoes this profound transformation. She makes this conscious decision to confront her past and take control of her future. It's like a switch flips inside her. She's no longer the scared, passive girl we met at the beginning of the story. She's becoming an agent of her own destiny, even if that means facing painful truths and making difficult choices.
This newfound agency is evident in her actions. She confronts her mother, challenges Blake's authority, and ultimately makes the decision to set the fire that frees her from his control.
That scene is incredibly powerful, wouldn't you say? It's both terrifying and liberating. It's the culmination of all the tension and trauma that's been building throughout the novel. And it marks this significant turning point in Mila's journey. She's no longer a victim, she's a survivor.
Fire itself becomes this symbol of both destruction and purification. It represents the end of Mila's old life, the life that was defined by abuse and manipulation. But it also creates the possibility for new beginnings, for healing and growth.
It's this powerful metaphor for the transformative nature of confronting our demons.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to burn down the old structures in order to build something new and stronger in their place.
And even though that act of defiance is what ultimately leads to her placement on the farm, it's also what sets her on the path towards healing. While the farm itself might be haunted by literal ghosts, it becomes this space where Mila can confront the figurative ghosts of her past.
Right. The farm, with all its complexities and contradictions, becomes this microcosm of Mila's internal struggle. It's a place where she can face her demons, find connection, and potentially heal. And one of the most poignant moments of healing occurs when Mila confides in Liz about her role in the fire and the guilt she's been carrying.
That scene really got to me.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the power of vulnerability and the importance of human connection in the healing process. By sharing her secret with Liz, Mila takes this crucial step towards letting go of the shame and self-blame that have been weighing her down.
It's this beautiful example of how empathy and understanding can create this safe space for healing. And Liz's response is equally powerful. She offers Mila unconditional support, reminding her that she's not alone. It's this stark contrast to the approach that Terry and Julia, despite their good intentions, have taken.
I see what you mean. Liz meets Mila where she is accepting her without judgment, while Terry and Julia often seem to be trying to fix her. It's like they're more focused on shaping her into the kind of person they want her to be than on truly understanding her.
And that highlights the different ways we can offer support to those who are struggling. Sometimes the most helpful thing we can do is simply listen without judgment and create this safe space for someone to process their pain.
So we see Mila taking these steps toward healing, forming genuine connections with Liz and Billy, and ultimately confronting her past. But the novel ends on this somewhat ambiguous note, leaving us to ponder the long-term effects of trauma and the complexities of recovery.
That ambiguity is intentional. Lacour doesn't offer easy answers or neat resolutions. She leaves us to grapple with the fact that healing isn't a destination, it's a journey. And while Mila has made significant progress, there's still this sense of uncertainty about her future. The ghosts may linger, but she's learned to coexist with them to navigate their presence without letting them control her.
So if the ghosts represent Mila's past trauma, does their continued presence suggest that complete healing is impossible? Or does it symbolize the possibility of learning to live with our pain, to integrate those experiences into our narratives without letting them define us?
That's a question each reader has to answer for themselves. Watch Over Me offers no easy answers, but it reminds us that healing is not about erasing the past, but about finding ways to move forward with resilience and hope.
This deep dive has explored the enduring power of trauma, the complexities of human relationships, and the difficult but ultimately necessary journey of confronting our past in order to embrace our futures.
And as we conclude our exploration of Watch Over Me, we encourage you to delve into this haunting and beautiful novel for yourselves. Consider the questions it raises, the characters it brings to life, and the enduring power of its message.